Today I'm working on a pretty cool animal. It's not something you see every day. In fact, it's something you see almost never in the taxidermy shop. So I thought, let's make a video of this. Very unique creature. Today I'm working on a Brazilian prehensile-tailed porcupine. This is a type of porcupine that is found in Brazil, and they're really unique because they have this tail that they will wrap around trees as they're climbing. I'm really just now learning about them because I've never worked on one before. But he's going to be a really cool addition to my porcupine collection. I already have an African crested porcupine and a North American porcupine. So yeah, very unique creature here. I'm a little bit worried about getting poked while I'm working on it. I've got these gloves on, these rubber gloves, but I've already been stabbed once just handling it. So these are not going to help very much. It can go right through this, but we're just going to be really careful while skinning it. The porcupine was kindly donated to me by somebody who only has interest in it for the skeleton. They want to do a skeleton reconstruction, so their only request is that I return the skeleton intact, meaning I've got to be very careful to leave all these toe joints, and there's a little bit of freezer burn on this guy. He's probably been in the freezer for a little bit. So I'm going to inject some water down into each one of these toes so they're nice and flexible and I don't risk breaking them as I'm skinning. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water in a syringe and go at the base of the toe here. If you ever have any areas of an animal that are dry and freezer burn, this is all you got to do to plump them back up. See that toe just plump all the way back up? It's even putting air and water up into the foot. If I let this sit a few minutes, by the time I actually get to skinning this foot, it's going to be pretty much back to its original flexibility. So people worry a lot about freezer burn. Unless it's severe and it's the entire animal, all you got to do is inject the areas. Most common freezer burned areas would be toes and ears, and just plump them up with the syringe. I've never skinned a Brazilian prehensile-tailed porcupine, so we're doing this together. I've decided I'm going to cut it down the stomach, and since I'm probably not going to be able to invert these legs over without the spines getting in the way, I'm going to cut down each leg. So basically we're going to cut this like we would for a rug. And I'm just going to cut down the stomach. It is much softer on here. They are kind of spiky, but most porcupines are soft on the stomach, so you have that advantage. I'm going to use my scalpel in an upwards motion, so I'll just kind of separate these spines. Now remember, I've got to keep this skeleton intact. No damage to the bones, no cutting. We need to keep this whole thing intact. Since the fellow who donated this was nice enough to give me the hide, if I just return the intact skeleton. Obviously there will be no tubing this tail out, so I'm going to continue the cut all the way down the tail. I'm going to mount it in a position where it's kind of sitting and you're not going to see any of these incisions. We'll just have that be on the bottom. I'm not too worried about that. Just need to make an incision all the way down this hill. It's actually kind of thick through here as far as the skin. You'll notice I'm being really careful. Look at that. It's not poked through though, it's just superficial. Being really careful not to lay this on a towel or anything that the spines could catch on to. When it's just laying here on the countertop, the spines don't really want to grab onto that, so we're mostly safe from pulling out spines. We'll see how many spikes I get in my hand during this process. In case you're wondering what this smells like right now, it smells like a skunk. I'm not sure if the porcupine naturally smells like a skunk or if it was put in a freezer with a skunk, but it is a lovely aroma in here right now. So I've mentioned I haven't worked on this species before, so I always have questions, is the skin thin like tissue paper? Is it thick? From what I can tell right now, this seems really thick. It's putting up with a good bit of prying. And I'm just going to proceed with caution. There's a lot of muscle in this tail. Just kind of working that off. Try not to leave a ton of meat on the hide just because it's going to be more I've got to flesh off later, but we do what we got to do. We're almost all the way down this tail. Because of the spines and because I don't want to break the tailbone, I'm not willing to really do much pulling like I might on a fox or something else. Just gently kind of running my scalpel up under here and disconnecting the bone from the skin. It gets even tougher as you go further down. Put just a little bit of pressure on it as I pull this off. Possibly a little bit freezer burned down in the tip of this tail as well. There we go. Tail has been skinned. That wasn't too bad. Now we'll work our way forward. I've decided I am going to attempt to invert this knee over, but I am going to do a relief cut on the bottom of the foot. I'm not dealing with that drama of trying to tube that out when it's going to just go flat on the base anyway. Look at this cool little foot. I'm going to make this a lot easier by doing an incision just along the foot pad, basically from the front of the foot back to the heel. This is going to help a lot with skinning the foot out. I'm skinning out the second foot over here. Right here, you can see these little toes. I got them skinned out all the way down to the nail. Now, most of the time when people do skeleton articulation, they want the nails left on as well, but I was given permission to keep the nails on the skin of this porcupine. So I am just being really careful just to go all the way down to the very last digit, leaving the claw on the skin, but everything else on the carcass. The fact that this is a little freezer burn certainly does not help, but you can see, hopefully you can see this little bone here, and I'm just gently cutting around that, and we're going to detach that claw from the toe. See that? I tell you, this requires some precision right here, but I'm getting it. Down here, or up here at the little front paws, we're going to do a similar relief cut down the center, and I'm going to go about an inch up into here, just for good measure. So far, I've been able to invert the legs with this relief cut, which will save me some sewing and hold everything together a little bit better. So far, 0 pokes. Compared to the back feet, these front feet skinned out really quick. I'm on the second one here. Even with the freezer burn, you can see that in the form of kind of dried skin here. But it's just enough to skin out without any extreme difficulty. If there's one thing I was surprised about, it's how thick this skin actually is. I can apply quite a bit of pressure to it. I'm just working on this little front foot. I double check to make sure where the nail is, because I just really don't want to leave that last finger digit down in there. These were just a little bit bigger. I could get my pinky nail in there, which is how I normally skin feet. I like to loop my finger through here, but they're just a little bit small. Maybe if I cut back here a little. There we go. Just barely got my finger in there, and that helps give me some leverage. I'm at the back side of that nail. Oop, just like the back feet. All right, we're finally down to the head. I've skinned quite far up, close to the chin, because I just don't want to try to invert this too greatly. It'll cause the spines to bend. So, you know, it's the way I'm going to mount it, you're not going to see that chin area, and it's all going to be underneath it. And the spines will cover it. So, yeah, we're splitting all the way up. At this point, I'm handling the hide very gently, trying not to stab too many spines into the hide or myself. So far, no pokes. Here's the ear canal right here. This is going to be similar to skinning other animal heads, just a little more carefully. Let's flip this over. Get the ear canal on this side, right there. We're gonna have to bend the hide a little. I mean, that's just the nature of this. The little eye should be right around here. Let's loosen this up on top of the head. Roll some more of those spines down. We're almost there, little porcupine. Hold on. Oh, one poke. Ouch. That was in the skin. Ouchies. Okay, porcupine. 1. Amy. 0. You're not gonna win. One poke ain't bad. This makes me nervous. I hear those spines crunching in there. It's okay. The spines themselves are really strong. I just don't want them to stick into the hide. And there's not much to grab onto. What do you grab onto? The inside of the hide, basically. Oh, this is so intense. Yeah. Right here at the eye, though. To separate this. Right, there's his little eye. Also kind of at the mouth right here, gonna cut through the side of the cheek, open that up. And we'll expose these teeth. Just get that bottom lip skinned out. You know what? I'm gonna get a new scalpel blade for this. Okay. Fresh scalpel blade, that'll help. After skinning all those toe bones, it was really dull. There's the bottom teeth. Okay. Got that. Eye skinned out. Let's go to the other side again. And this would be easier if it was a little less freezer burn, because what you're seeing right here on the top of the head, that's freezer burn. This hide is really kind of dry, difficult to remove off of here. We do what we gotta do. And we're almost there. Total time this has taken me right about an hour. I've been really taking my time, being gentle. That's interesting. I have no idea what that is. Something came out of the nose. Okay, so this nose, I know that the nose anatomy is a little bit different than some animals I'm used to working on, so I'm kind of carefully going around that. They kind of have a bulbous nose, so I know it's going to seem a little different here on the final removal. Yeah, this must be some type of substance they have inside their nose. On each side, we had this little round white material. That's really interesting. Yeah, very bulbous nose here. This is all cartilage. This will not be present on the skeleton, so it's not that I'm worried about cutting that too short, but I'm just making sure I'm cutting in the right spots. And I'll cut through the cartilage of the nose. We'll just cut it back here just to be safe. Bam. So there we have it. The porcupine is skinned. I'm pretty proud of this skinning job. We lost, a few spines. That's to be expected. Overall, it looks really full and there's no issues. The little toes are skinned out all the way to the bottom. All I've got to do is some light fleshing to it. Get this into the pickle, tan it, and I'm going to make a body for it, and we will have our own very unique prehensile-tailed porcupine mount.